Good morning, children. Today you're going to learn The Farmer and His Daughters. Already you have learned Unit 2 Prose, Trip to My Grandparents' Village, Poem, Farmer's Friend, and now Supplementary Reader, The Farmer and His Daughters. This is a story about a wealthy farmer and his three daughters. Shall we move to the lesson, children? Okay, let's start. The farmer and his daughters. In the village of Manipuram, there lived a wealthy farmer. He had three daughters. All his daughters were married and living their life happily. So, in the village named Manipuram. So, what is the name of their village? Manipuram. There was a wealthy farmer. What is mean by wealthy farmer? Rich farmer. And he had three daughters. How many daughters? Three daughters. They all were married and living happily. So they were leading a happy life. The farmer was getting old. He wanted to distribute his wealth to his daughters, but he wanted to know what responsibility he could give to each of his daughters. As a farmer was getting old, he wanted to share his wealth to all his daughters. Usually, when the parents get old, what they will do? They will divide and give their property to their children. Isn't it, children? Okay. Likewise, this farmer also wanted to share his wealth to all his daughters. Before that, he wanted to know what duty he can give to each daughter. So he planned to give them a task. What is mean by task? An activity to be completed within a period of time. He called all his daughters and gave each of them a bag of millet. He asked them to use grains in the best way possible and then come back to him after 1 year. So one day he called all his three daughters and gave everyone a bag of millet. What is mean by millet? Millet is a cereal or grain grown in warm countries. There are different types of millets like finger millet, ragi, pearl millet, kambu, and little millet, same. He asked them to use wisely these grains in the best way, and then he asked them to come back to him after 1 year. So this was a task for them to find the responsible person. After 1 year, the daughters came back to their father's house. The father welcomed all of them. So after 1 year, they all came to their father's house and the father welcomed the three daughters. First, he called the elder daughter and asked about what she had done with the grains given to her. She replied, "Father, I fed those grains to flock of birds that I saw on my way back to home." First, he called the first daughter, that is, elder daughter, and asked about the bag of millet given to her. She said that she fed those grains to flock of birds. What is meant by flock of birds? A group of birds, that is any type of birds, group of birds. So she fed those grains to group of birds that she found on her way to her home. Then the father called the second daughter and asked the same. She replied, "Father, I thought those grains were sacred, so I mixed those with other grains kept for community food service so that everyone could have." Next, the father asked second daughter about a bag of millet. She said that she thought those grains were sacred. What is mean by sacred? Sacred means holy, blessed, punidamanadu. So she mixed the grains with other grains. In this picture, you can see many pots are here. In each pot, they have different types of grains. So she mixed the grain with other grains which was kept for community food service. What is mean by community food service? Unpaid service that is performed. So she mixed with other grains so that everyone could have that holiness with them. After this, the third daughter came. The father asked her about the grains. She said, Father, I don't have those grains with me now. I need 2 bullocks and men to get the grains. Father was confused and asked her, Why do you need bullocks and men to bring the grains here? Next, the third daughter came. The father asked her about the bag of millet. She said that she doesn't have those grains with her and she needs 2 bullocks and men to bring back the grains. What is meant by bullocks? Yes, 2 or 4 wheeled vehicle pulled by oxen. Okay, and she needs bullock and men to bring back the grains. And the father was confused and asked her why she need bullocks and men to bring back the grains. The daughter smiled and replied, I sowed those grains and now it has grown as crops. So the third daughter smiled and she replied, she sowed those grains. What is mean by sowed? Vidaikkarathu. Sowed those grains in the land and it has grown as new crops. So I need a bullock cart and men to harvest and bring back the grains. Father was happy to know that she used the grains wisely. Father found her apt and gave her the responsibility of the fields. He distributed his other wealth equally among the other 2 daughters. So she needs a bullock cart and men to harvest and bring back those grains to the home. So the father felt very happy because she has used the grains cleverly, intelligently. So father found her apt. Apt means right person to give the responsibility and gave her the responsibility of the fields. Then he shared other wealth equally among the first and second daughter. Okay, children, that's it. The story is over. So what do you learn from this story? Okay, yes, very good. You must be like the third daughter. You have to use your knowledge wisely in all your activities. Okay. Okay. Now let's move on to the book exercise. Glossary meanings. Number 1, distribute, give a share. Distribute, give a share. That is dividing and giving a share to each of a number. Number 2, responsibility, power. Responsibility, power. Control over someone. Giving control over something. Number 3, millet, a cereal grown in warm countries. Millet, a cereal grown in warm countries. That is, cereal means grain. Okay. Number 4, sacred, holy. It is blessed. Number 4, sacred, holy. Number 5, harvest, yield. Harvest, yield. Process of gathering a ripe crop from the fields. Harvest means process of gathering a ripe crop from the fields. Number 6, wisely, cleverly, intelligently. Number 6, wisely, cleverly. Next, let us match the picture with daughter. Number 1, she is a first daughter. What does the first daughter do? She feeds the birds. This is second daughter. She mixes for community food service. This is the third daughter. She sows the grain. Okay, next to fill in the blanks. Number 1, the farmer had dash daughters. How many daughters? 3. Very good. Number 2, he offered dash to his daughters. What did he offer? Millet. He offered millet to his daughters. Number 3, the second daughter. They have given a second daughter. It's actually first daughter. So you strike out the second and you write first. The first daughter dash to a flock of birds. So you have to write here fed or feeds. Feed is not the right answer. You have to write feeds or fed. Okay, number 3. The first daughter fed to a flock of birds. Answer the following. Number 1. What did the father give to all the daughters? The father gave a bag of millet to all his daughters. Once again, what did the father give to all the daughters? The father gave a bag of millet to all his daughters. Number 2. What did the first daughter do? The first daughter fed the grains to a flock of birds. Once again, what did the first daughter do? The first daughter fed the grains to a flock of birds. Number 3. How did the second daughter use the grain? The second daughter mixed the millet with other grains kept for community food service. Once again, how did the second daughter use the grain? The second daughter mixed the millet with other grains kept for community food service. Number 4. How did the third daughter use the grain? The third daughter sowed the grains in the land. Once again, how did the third daughter use the grain? The third daughter sowed the grains in the land. Number 5. Who is the wisest of all? The third daughter is the wisest of all. Who is the wisest of all? The third daughter is the wisest of all. Okay, thank you, children. Have a nice day.